preview trailer for Hexadome Legends got dropped on us and I am excited. Now, you might be asking, what is Hexadome Legends? Well, it's the second edition of Corvus Belli's board game, Aristeia. If you are unfamiliar with Aristeia, then you missed, in my opinion, one of the best 1v1 board games ever made. I love Aristeia. And if you go back far enough in my channel, you can see that was where all my attention was, with painting videos and even doing a couple of battle reports. The game pits two teams of 4 athletes known as Aristos into an arena called the Hexadome that, unsurprisingly, has a hexagonal shape and has them fight varying scenarios of area control. What made the game so good was the fact that every Aristo was unique. They each brought their own flavour of abilities to the game, with characters such as Musashi, who had nimble movement and killer close combat attacks, or 8-Ball, a giant martial arts practicing panda who could displace his opponents at key moments in a game to wreck the opposing team's plans. Each Aristo would not only have their character card with unique abilities, but also got to build a deck of cards that allowed them to give their team some unique and often timely one-off tactical abilities. And the fact that you could mix and match any of the available 32 Aristos meant that no game ever felt the same. The game seemed to fall off around COVID. Corvus Belli literally released the 4-player multiplayer expansion at the end of 2019, and then COVID somewhat killed the scene. The game was no longer supported with new seasons, and it was left to a group of die-hard fans to produce new content. Eventually the game went out of production, but soon after the end-of-line sales went up, we heard that there was a new edition coming, and playtesters were invited near the end of 2024. But why has Corvus Belli changed the name from Aristeia to Hexadome Legends? Well, there are a couple of reasons. One is the fact Aristeia isn't that well known a word, so many have difficulty pronouncing it or even deriving meaning from it. If you are into ancient Greece, then you may have understood its meaning: a hero's moment of greatest glory, which makes for an awesome name of a sci-fi blood sport in regard to a lore perspective. But for the average Joe on the street, it might as well be flibberty-gibbet, which, by the way, is a real word that describes someone who talks excessively. So not only this, but a video game for Aristeia has been in development from Blind Spot Games, and probably for the above reasons, named the game Hexadome Tactics. Along with the release and possible increased eyeballs and exposure on the game, CB are releasing their second edition of the board game and aligning the names together. But for all intents and purposes, this is Aristeia 2nd edition. But what do we know of the changes coming? Not much really. We can garner some information from the teaser that was published. Let's start at the end of the teaser, shall we, and see the contents of the box. It's hard to see everything within the screenshot, but there are some clues we can garner. First of all, the team boards have been reduced in size a little. Before, the board would sit in a corner of the hexadome, but now they will sit snug to a single edge. This means that the board game itself will take up less length of the table between the opponents. As you are now sitting with the board edge to edge rather than point to point, a small design change, but it helps save a few precious inches for those who found it cramped. The team boards have a more thought out design as well. Before, your Aristo energy and movement trackers were on the far sides of the board, whereas here they are right next to one another just above the round tracker, keeping it all together in one place. It does, however, make the space a little more cramped, with KO'd Aristos filling the borders close to the cards and counters. Character cards have now doubled in size. They were the size of regular playing cards before, but now look to be larger, making it easier to read and reference their details. Overall, a good update for those who have trouble reading small fonts. However, it will mean I need to find some alternative storage to what I was using when more and more Aristos are released in the future, and I want to carry all of the cards outside of the box. Now, speaking of the character cards, we can clearly see on the team nearest the camera that we have some classic Aristos from the 1st edition box: Maximus, Musashi, Garter, and Hexa. However, on the other side, the team is composed of all new Aristos. It's nigh on impossible to read their names, but it is exciting to see some new characters. Let's look at them in a bit. A big question that was on my mind when the game was originally announced to be in development was, are the dice changing? With Warcrow bringing in the D8s, which were very clearly defined as defensive versus offensive dice, was Aristeia 2nd edition going to be incorporating that system? Well, it looks like they are keeping things the same with the D6 dice, and I think that is great, as it was a system that worked really well in the 1st edition, and moving away from those dice would have changed the possible combinations so radically that it would not be the same game. Everything else seems to be in place with the initiative tokens, state tokens, frag tokens, health tokens, tactical deck, and so on. There is one set of tokens I don't recognize. They are the size of the hexagon spaces on the board, so will most likely be something to interact with on the board. Whether these are health boosts or traps or something else, I'm not sure. If you know, and it's probably something obvious, let me know down in the comments. And while you're there, like the video and subscribe. Thanks a million. The video comes at you pretty fast with lots of short clips of the artwork, but from it we can see a little of the new Aristos and how the old Aristos have been redesigned for this new edition. Let's look at some old faces, and why not the poster child himself, Maximus. Not much has changed in the design, but the art has gone from a noble and pious knight-like figure to a man that has seen some and is letting it all out in the Hexadome. I really like this look for him, and I am curious to see if he will have a more aggressive profile compared to his team supporting tank role in the previous edition. For those unfamiliar, Maximus took the role of the toughest tank in the game. He was tough to wound, carried lots of wounds, and could keep adjacent Aristos safe by taking damage for them. He would even get free moves whenever teammates were targeted. There is only one picture of Garta in the preview, but damn, is it a good one. It's clear she's still going to be the most agile Aristo in the Hexadome and most likely drive people balmy for it as well. The art really has captured her confidence and speed. In the 1st edition of the game, Garta was hands down the fastest Aristo and a popular choice for players. She would easily be able to take zones across the board in a single turn thanks to her ability to vault over obstacles and other Aristos. And her ability to easily daze her opponents was great at neutering ranged opponents. Musashi has gone for a big change in his getup. Gone is his iconic red hakama, and now he sports a very Aleph cold purple and off-white hakama. Musashi was a melee expert in Aristeia, and I expect the same again. What made him especially good as a melee fighter and zone scorer was the fact that he was able to string together attacks and get free movement for each point of damage he caused. Hexa has not changed much from her original design, but is now carrying a staff, making her witch aesthetic that much stronger. She also seems to be sporting a little more leather than before, so there is that. Much like Garta, Hexa was a very popular choice as a powerful manipulator that could freeze opponents in place and either displace teammates into advantageous positions or opponents out of scoring zones, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. In one of her pictures, we also get a glimpse at one of the new Aristos. An androgynous demon Aristo. Could it be a child or relation of the mighty final boss? I've no idea, to be honest, but that is who came to mind when I saw the picture. It seems that they carry what appears to be a weapon that can also create a force field, so we can probably expect them to be a little bit tanky. Then we have this blind child angel with a slingshot and supporting plushes. Right now I have nothing more to say, so let's move on, shall we? We also seem to have what could be a hacker of some kind with a mechanical arm and a face visor that displays a digital face. Going from another picture that they appear in with Musashi, it would seem they make attacks using some kind of sonic device. Perhaps a ranged attack that, along with a touch of damage, might also impose the stun or some other state to the target. Finally, this character only has a single picture, but with the cold blue fiery aura, they most likely have abilities that are more supernatural in nature, such as Mendoza's healing and fire manipulation, or Oberon's tactic card shenanigans. And that's all we have until July 18th when we learn more. There has been some discussion on the Discord, and Corvus Belli's V has also clarified some things, the main being that the game is not changing much from its core mechanics, so the Aristeia we know and love is still ever present. But some rules are likely going to be changing, and how Aristos play will also be a factor. One question that has popped up is, will there be updates for the previous lineup of Aristos? The answer to this is most likely a no, at least in the short term. Releasing profiles and tactics for all the previous Aristos would surely be a massive task in itself, and managing the balancing of the game would be nigh impossible this early on. However, as we see new expansions in the future, I'm sure we'll be seeing some old faces. And for me, it means having some alternative sculpts to use when I likely eventually buy them. I can definitely say I'm excited to play the new edition, and will likely go and play some first edition with friends to get excited for the new launch, and hopefully get them excited too. Immensely happy to see this game return, and will be waiting with bated breath to get any information from the upcoming Interplanetarium. Thanks for watching, and see you in the Hexadome! Yay. Done. Finito!